Good evening, everyone. My name is Meg Wheeler. I'm a candidate for State Senate in the Plymouth and Norfolk District here in Massachusetts, and I wanted to bring you tonight's COVID-19 update. So let's first talk about where we're at. So today, unfortunately, 10 additional deaths here in the state of Massachusetts. Our statewide total is now at 35. We had 823 additional cases today. That brings our statewide total to 3,240. The majority of these cases are in the Middlesex and Suffolk counties. There are 393 cases in Norfolk County. Plymouth County has 187. In terms of testing, we're at 29,371 tests. That's up from 21,621 yesterday. So we are testing more every single day, which is one of the big reasons why we're seeing so many additional cases every single day. Now, unfortunately, we've hit a milestone today here in the United States. We now have more than 100,000 cases just here in the United States. We have the most known cases worldwide, and we are the first country to surpass 100,000 cases. On the state level, Governor Baker did provide an update today. He announced that all travelers coming into Massachusetts are asked to self-quarantine for 14 days, and he urged people not to travel at all, especially if they are experiencing symptoms of COVID-19. Here's the thing, this is an instruction only. There is no enforcement measure for this guideline for travelers. So travelers who come in through the airport or through train stations are being given information pamphlets that will inform them that they are asked to self-quarantine for 14 days. But again, there's no enforcement measure right now. I think I'll talk a little bit about that at the end, but I think that's something very important to note, that right now, all of the measures that are being put into place, with the exception of closing non-essential businesses, are voluntary measures. The state is also working with a site called buoy.com, buoy.com, to provide free medical advice to Massachusetts residents. So if you head to that site, a box will pop up. It'll ask if you're a Massachusetts resident. It's very easy. And that's what happened on the state level today. So let's talk about the federal level, because that's really where the action was today. So the president earlier this afternoon signed the $2 trillion stimulus bill in response to the coronavirus pandemic. We talked about this at length in yesterday's update, but I do want to just clarify a few things and add on a few additional things. The first are the direct payments to individuals. I think this is the thing that a lot of people have reached out and want to know if they'll qualify or not. So if you are a single filing taxpayer, it's $1,200. If you are married, it's $2,400. Here's the thing, there are income limitations. So if you are a single filing taxpayer, you get the full $1,200 if your most recent tax return. So if you haven't filed 2019, this would be your 2018 tax return. If you have filed 2019, this would be your 2019. If your AGI, your adjusted gross income on that tax return, is $75,000 or less, you'll get the full $1,200 if you're single, $2,400 if you're married. If your income is over that, if you're single, it'll be prorated and it'll phase out completely at $99,000 of income. For married couples, that phase out happens at $198,000 of income. Children under 17, each child under 17 gets $500. And the IRS, if your bank account is on file with the IRS, they will automatically transfer these funds to you, again, dependent on your income on your last filed tax return. The Treasury Secretary said that most payments are expected to come in 3 weeks. They will also be sending a letter after you get your payment that basically says what they sent you and where it went. So if you have any issues getting the payment, it doesn't show up, and you think you are owed one, you should get that letter, and there will be instructions on there in terms of what to do if your payment did not arrive. Now, another big part of this bill is that unemployment was expanded. So the unemployment assistance now covers self-employed people, part-time workers. This includes gig workers, it includes freelancers, it includes independent contractors. Benefits will depend on your state. Every state has different rules for this. Eligible workers, however, will get an additional $600 per week over and above whatever your state benefits are. Now, you are eligible. There are a few different ways that you can qualify for this. So you're eligible if you are unemployed or partly unemployed because of the coronavirus pandemic. You also are eligible if you have received a diagnosis, or if your family member or member of your household has a diagnosis and you are caring for them and therefore cannot work. Or if you rely on school or daycare or any other kind of facility, elderly parent or household member to care for a family member, and that facility or that provider is not able to do that right now, they're shut down, and so therefore you cannot work because they are shut down, then you qualify as well. So big news on unemployment there. The next thing are the student loan payments. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, but these have been suspended for all federally backed student loans. So this is automatic. It's an automatic payment suspension for any student loans held by the federal government through September, and no interest will accrue during this time either. So again, there's nothing you have to do for this to go into place, but they did note that it obviously is going to take them a little bit of time to get through everybody's loans and make this change online. So if you are trying to log in to see if it's been done, just note that there may be increased traffic on the websites. It may take a little bit of time. Don't panic. Definitely make sure it gets done. But give them a little bit of time. Understand that there are a lot of loans that they have to apply this to. We heard more today about retirement accounts. This is something we haven't talked about before. So a few changes in this bill for retirement accounts. For the entire 2020, there are no required minimum distributions from individual retirement accounts or workplace retirement savings plans. So like your 401k, for example. So they're waiving the minimum distributions from those accounts. So that way you don't have to sell investments if they've fallen in value, if you don't otherwise need the money. Now, if you need to take money out of your IRA or your retirement plan early, normally there's a 10% early withdrawal penalty. They are waiving that penalty, and you can take up to $100,000 out of your plan as long as it's because of the outbreak. So that's the thing that they wanted to stress, that it has to be because of the outbreak. And so this is, again, only for coronavirus related withdrawals. You qualify if you, a spouse, or a dependent test positive, or if you experience a variety of other negative financial impacts. They've outlined those in the bill. The 10% early withdrawal penalty is waived, but you still have to pay income tax on those amounts. However, you can spread the tax on those amounts out over 3 years, and they are actually giving you up to 3 years to pay those funds back in if you'd like, without any limitations on contributions. So normally there are annual contribution limits. They're waiving those if you want to pay back in funds that you've taken out, as long as you do it within that 3-year period. You can also borrow from your retirement account up to double the amount normally allowed. So normally it's $50,000. They're making it $100,000. And this goes for between now and 180 days from now. The rules that state that you can't take out more than half your balance have also been suspended for the time being. A couple of other things in this bill. For renters, there is now a temporary nationwide moratorium on evictions for any renters whose landlords have loans backed by Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or any other federal entity. This is for 120 days from now. Landlords cannot charge you fees or penalties during this time. But again, I want to clarify, this is just for renters who live in buildings where the lenders or the landlord's loan is backed by a federal entity. So Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or another federal entity. A couple of other benefits I just want to mention. There are some increased benefits for charitable contributions. So if you do have the means and you want to give right now, there are some additional benefits for doing that. They've relaxed some of the limitations. And then in a small win for women, menstrual products are now eligible for reimbursement from your health savings account. They've been working on this for 15 years. They were able to put this in this bill. So it's just, one small way to help out women who have not previously been able to use funds, health savings funds for this. So that's the update on this bill. It's a massive bill. It's a $2 trillion bill. There's a lot of other stuff in it, and I'm not going to go through every single piece of it because we would be here for hours. We talked about mortgages yesterday. Provisions were put into place to protect folks from from being foreclosed on, to delay the payments of mortgages. We talked about that in previous updates. There is a lot of money in this bill for small businesses. There are two big components in here for small businesses that I think are really important. One is money set aside for grants, $10,000 grants for small businesses. I believe this is being done through the SBA, as well as the emergency disaster relief loans. So look for more information coming on that. We will obviously publish more information on that when we have it. The other piece is the payroll provider relief. And this is essentially providing loans to small businesses who promise to continue to pay their employees for a period of 8 weeks. And if you pay your employees for those 8 weeks, the loan will then be forgiven. So essentially, it's not a loan as long as you use the funds to keep your employees paid during this time. Again, we don't have details on that yet. We will get those out as soon as we have them. So that's the sort of high level of what happened today. I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say, is this enough? I'm worried this isn't enough. This is great, but it's not going to pay my mortgage. My mortgage isn't federally backed because we live in a very expensive area and a lot of mortgages aren't, or I make a little bit more than the income limit, so I'm not going to get any money. And I said this on last night's update. I think this is a step in the right direction, but I've talked to too many people who are left behind by this. Whether it's renters whose landlords do not have mortgages that are federally backed, and therefore they don't get any kind of a moratorium, whether it's folks with student loans that are privatized, they consolidated, so they're no longer federally backed, and therefore they're getting no relief from their student loan companies. Folks who, again, like I said, make just a little bit above the income limitation, even folks who don't, but $1,200 doesn't go very far, especially when you've got a family. So I think this is a step in the right direction. I think we need to see much more happening on the federal level, and I will continue to be very outspoken about that, and I will continue to push our senators here and our representatives here in Massachusetts to continue to fight for that. I know that they are very well aware of this issue, but I also will continue to push on the state level. And I'm cautiously optimistic because I know I've heard from several representatives who have already put forth bills or are getting ready to put forth bills that provide even more support for people here in Massachusetts. And I think that that's absolutely needed. I think to get through this, it is going to be a combination of support on the federal and the state level. And I absolutely think that we need to do more for small businesses. I've talked to many small business owners even today who say, this is great, but my rent's due next week and I don't know what to do. I had to lay off my employees and I feel horrible, but I didn't have the cash to pay them because we haven't been able to stay, to do any business. And so I think we're going to need support for our small business owners and employees and our self-employed workers as well. And we're going to need it fast. And so I continue to push our state legislature to think about what our people are going through and stand up and speak out for them and fight for them because we need you. We need you right now. People are really struggling. And while this is a great first step, it really is just a first step. I think we're going to need to have continuous benefits coming to folks until the economy can be restored. And I want to be very clear here. I think we're in this for a long time. I think we're in this for a while. And, yes, I think that when people can finally get out of the house and can go back to, normal life, I think we'll see a boost in the economy, but it's going to take a while for the economy to truly bounce back. And the stock market is not a good reflection, in my opinion, of the health of Main Street, everyday folks and small business owners and what we're going through. So I think this is going to take a while for us to get back there. And I think our state legislature, as well as our federal government, needs to do more. The last thing I will say, which relates to Governor Baker's orders, or I should say lack of order, but Governor Baker's statement about asking people to stay at home, about issuing guidelines to people traveling to Massachusetts and asking them to self-quarantine, none of this at this point is mandatory. With the exception of closing non-essential businesses, none of this is mandatory. And I have driven around my town and seen too many people not listening to these guidelines. So I will continue to call for a mandatory stay-at-home order. I think we should absolutely have a travel ban. And I think this needs to be nationwide. I don't think we can just do this at the state level, especially here in Massachusetts. We're surrounded by, too many states. It's too easy for all of us to travel to one another. And we will not stop this until our government actually stands up and takes control of this and says, this is what we have to do. It's going to be really tough. And I know it's going to hurt small businesses even more. And that's a very hard thing for me to say as a small business owner, because truly my first thought is always to those small business owners. But I 100% believe that if we do not take this drastic step now, our small businesses will not survive this in the end. I think we have to take that short-term hit so that long-term, we are all okay. And I do think that our government, both state and federal, needs to step in and provide the financial resources that everybody needs, not just some people, so that we can get through that. So I hope this update was helpful for you. The last thing I just want to mention before I wrap up is, again, the state has put out a text update service. If you text COVID-MA to 888-777, you will receive updates. They have been very helpful when I've received them. So I would recommend you sign up for that so that you can be the first to know when the state puts out additional information. I will be back here tomorrow night. I will be back here every single night at 7:30 for as long as I'm able to until this is over. If you need anything at all, reach out to us, megwheeler.com. You can email us, hello@megwheeler.com, or you can call us at 781-724-3461. And lastly, as I do every single night, I just want to wrap up by thanking every single person who is out there fighting on the front lines of this, whether you are a medical professional, whether you are in the grocery stores, whether you are a trucker bringing food to us, whether you are a police officer or working in the fire department, or teachers and school staff working to ensure that our kids are still able to learn during all of this. Whatever it is that you are doing, if you are out there fighting on the front lines to make sure that our economy is still going, make sure that people are staying safe and healthy, thank you truly from the bottom of my heart. I will always, always, always fight for you, because the risk that you are taking right now and the just immense effort that you are putting in to make sure that we get through this is incredible. And thank you is completely insufficient. But it's a start. And I just will continue to thank you every single night, because it is so incredibly important that we recognize the work that you are doing. So thank you. Again, I'll be back here tomorrow night at 7:30. I hope everyone has a safe and healthy evening. Bye for now.